President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2 years in his first 4-year term is under scrutiny. That's because we're getting closer to the day he was actually sworn in on May 29th. A lot of key components of the promises made by the president is attracting a lot of attention. Well, you can call it time to reflect on the promises made and a time to look at what has been achieved so far. That will help us make sense of where we are going. For those who know Mr. President very well, they believe that he's been doing so well in terms of keeping to his promises. For others, nothing to show for the first 2 years. Let's take a look at some things that has been attracting attention. What is Mr. President's impact on Nigeria's gross domestic product, housing, employment, power supply, crude oil production, security or insecurity, poverty? There's a lot more we can actually look at, in terms of assessing Mr. President's impact so far. But the major talking point in the last couple of days has been the issue of Nigeria moving towards a one-party state, against the background of some of the defections that we have seen. Interestingly, many supporters of Mr. President are saying there is nothing wrong in a one-party state. Even Mr. President has also come out to say there is nothing wrong in a one-party state. Is this democracy or Nigeria's version of democracy? Some say Mr. President is dangling a lot of carrots at political opponents to bring them into the APC family, just to ensure that 2027 will be a done deal. These and lots more will be x-raying in the next couple of minutes on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. And I'm Sonny Duke Okosun, your host on the program. We'll take a short break and then we'll meet our first guest on the show. And we're expecting others to join us before we go on a full throttle. Don't forget, you can be part of the program by contributing through the phone line that we'll share with you in the later part of the program. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Stay tuned. Thanks again for staying with us on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. My guest is the Executive Director of a civil society organization. Of course, I'd like to thank very especially Bishop Osadolo Oche. Has been on vacation on this program for a while, but we're good to have you here today on the show. Good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, my good brother and friend, Dr. Sonny Duke Okosun.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
I want to thank management of ITV for all their support throughout my time of sabbatical leave. And also to thank my maker,
absolutely,
who have kept me very strong, healthy throughout the sabbatical leave.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm here today alive.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we're also expecting Bishop Austin Igbasa to join us, as well as Reverend Phil Aroje. And the focus of our discussion is on President Tinubu's 2 years in office and the impact on governance. As usual, and as always, our studio line will be opened so you can also contribute to the discussion. Be as dispassionate as possible, be as objective as possible, without casting aspersion on anyone. And of course, let's have a very, very meaningful conversation. Let's start off with you, Bishop Osadolo Oche. Mr. President's first salvo was on May 29, 2 years ago, when he came on board, and then he announced that fuel subsidy has been removed. And immediately that happened, we saw how that singular statement changed the dynamics of government, changed the economy, and things just, went 360 degrees. And to a large extent, maybe for some analysts, the country hasn't recovered from that singular pronouncement. But what's your assessment of the impacts made on the key sectors of governance?
Thank you very much. First, change is a thing that human being does not want to hear of. When you hear we are changing from this to this, we try as much as possible as humans to resist it. Because to us, we don't know what the future holds for us. So since we don't know, the best option is to say this thing should not work. How can he tell us we're eating with our right hand? You wake up suddenly and say change to your left hand. And it's going to be a learning process. That learning process is going to take lengthy time for you to adjust to it. Now, the issue of fuel subsidy, all the political parties that campaign, particularly their presidential candidate, agreed and said it in their campaign that if they win, they are going to remove fuel subsidy. So it was not the issue of APC, PDP, Labour Party, or any of the remaining political parties. All of them had that agreement during their campaign that if I win as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will remove fuel subsidy. And before then, the immediate past President, Muhammadu Buhari, have also removed it technically. Technically in the sense that it did not include payment of subsidy in the 2023 appropriation bill. Now that it is not there, it will take the incoming president a while to say, I'm revising this policy I met on ground. And for it to kickstart and begin to run with his own administration, he has to stand on existing protocol. And that is this protocol, is that my predecessor in office said in writing, in budgeting, in appropriation, that subsidy can no longer be sustained. And because he says so, the incoming president now saw it and say, I agree with this thing I met. Because the mindset is that it's going to benefit all Nigerians. That's the mindset. They say one thing is to make a policy. The other thing is, how are they going to implement it? Okay. Who are the people going to implement it? Because the president will not be in the one office and be knowing what is happening everywhere. Okay. Some persons have to report to him to say, the president said this policy should be implemented like this, like this, like this. Are you hearing?
Yeah.
So if the president is betrayed in the line of implementation, you cannot blame him alone. Not that you can't blame him. You can't blame him alone, because governance is a team, not one-man show. So since it's a team and not one-man show, then all the people in the government have to take responsibility of what happened to that administration.
Okay, let's pause you there. If you just joined us, it's Politics Today on independent television and radio. I did announce at the beginning that we're expecting 2 more guests to join us for the conversation today. And we've got Bishop Austin Igbasan joining us. Bishop, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
2 years down the line, where are we with Mr. President's promises of changing the economic fortunes of Nigeria. If you do a simple survey of the impact of Mr. President in terms of the quality of life, I'm sure we probably will get 10% of Nigerians saying Mr. President has done well, and then the 90% of Nigerians will say Mr. President has impacted positively on their lives. So what's your take along those lines?
It's like, to me, Mr. President has done well. You see, one of the problems we have in this country is that some of the decisions that former leaders ought to have taken, and because they know the weight of those decisions on the masses, they decided not to take those decisions, like shifting the evil day. When we look at the issue of subsidy, the weight of it, that is why most leaders never want to take such decision, because they don't want an uproar, they don't want the masses to be affected. And you see that, like I tell people, all of us are affected by that decision. But when you check when they were campaigning, the three major candidates all campaigned that they are going to remove subsidy. Some even told us then that they are going to sold out NNPC and do other things. So the decision taken for these 2 years, though painful, it takes a bold leader. Because you see, decisions of leaders that want to put their name on the sand of time, are leaders that look at the future, not looking at the now. That decisions that are taken, if you look back at some of the decisions of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo that raised generations then, were decisions that are very, very hard. Now, when you look at the fuel subsidy, today, by the grace of God, those who are feeding fat from the subsidy today are doing their dry fasting. That's a major breakthrough. What you see, all the meetings you are seeing that are going on now are not able to bear the 2 years of the South. All of them boils down to the subsidy. All of them boil down. All the negotiation you are seeing, there are three major enemies coming together in unison to planning to unseat a man who have just come for 2 years, when there is a gentleman agreement of 8 years here, 8 years there. These are men that feed fat from the subsidy, wherein the masses bear the pain. So, and I think that taking that decision is a decision that if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a dogged and rugged fighter, he wouldn't have taken this such decision. When you look at the first term of the man as a governor of Lagos State, he took some decisions that normal politicians will never take such decision, because they will be afraid of their second term in taking that decision. But we have known him for years that he's a man that look forth at the future and take some decision. So for these 2 years, it is painful. It is painful to us, painful to the masses. But those decisions taken are decisions that are taken looking at the future of Nigeria to put us on the right track. And that is why I tell people, I said, the same God who created Adam and Eve created both of them. There was no pregnancy, there was no antenatal, there was no going to for checkup. These two people were created, the first couple were created by God without anybody going to hospital. There was no sexual intercourse. The same God from that time decided that what the process of raising human being will come through a woman get pregnant and run for 9 months. And this process are not sweet process.
Okay.
Even when you hear that a woman have easy delivery, easy delivery does not mean that the woman didn't cry. I told them in church on Sunday, I said, if you put camera on women when they are giving birth, I said nobody will put it on Facebook. Nobody will be able to enlarge it. No husband will be able to enlarge such picture and put in his living room. Because why? The beauty of the woman is disfigured at that period of pain. And that is why you cannot see any woman today that say, oh, I can only give birth when they put ice cream in my mouth when I'm in labor. Because even when you put the ice cream, the woman will spit it out, because there is already a taste in her mouth.
Okay.
That whatever sweetness you are bringing has no meaning. It is the taste that is registered without pain that the they're going to interpret it. So for me, Mr. President has done well, taking some decision, and our economy. For the first time, we have IMF loan being clear. We didn't beg anybody to clear us. We have Sukuk bond being paid. We have a lot of student loan. NEF fund is there. Our tech fund. For the first time, we are having our ASU not going to strike. We have a president that engage with people. That is not say presidency said. Presidency said a man that sit down with people and engage them and talk. So when we are talking about this, we have made a lot of progress.
Okay, all right.
A lot of progress.
Let me pursue there, Bishop Austin Igbansa, so I can welcome Reverend Phil Roger, who is also very conversant with all of this. Reverend Phil, thank you for joining us. I know it was a hectic time getting here because of the traffic jam. Yeah. A lot of people thought that today was environmental. And so you had these trucks, you know, who just stayed back, hoping that when it's cleared up before they start moving. So this is quite a challenge. So if you are coming to this axis of Benin City, find alternative route because of the traffic logjam. Well, Reverend, talk to me about the key performance indicators on Mr. President's 2 years in office so far. Insecurity, poverty, hunger, and all of these things that people can relate with easily. What is your assessment?
Thank you very much. It's tasking to assess Mr. President and not be biased to some of the things that are happening around us. And I will be very plain and very straight. Politicians and political party members can tell you what the president has done and what he has not done. My Lord Bishop, I have two bishops here, will tell you the president is doing well, depending on the angle you are sitting from. He has given a very, very analogy about pregnancy and pain and all the rest. But the honest truth is that the pain is becoming very unbearable. Unfortunately, some women die in labor ward. Nigerians should not die before Mr. President will know that the pain is becoming very unbearable. They say there's no gain without pain. I understand that from the perspective of the scripture, that for every level of grace you enjoy, there's a level of pain. Apostle Paul will write about that. But the pain started from the previous administration of General Buhari, or President Buhari, and he amplified it. And the major key issue is the issue of fuel subsidy removal. Bishop was saying earlier the fact that even the former president did not put the budget for subsidy in the 2023 budget. That's true. But supplementary budget can be put in there. I'm not saying that we should have left the first subsidy, but going on the podium on the day you were swearing and say subsidy gone was a major disaster against Nigerians. That's the reality. Insecurity has not improved. Security situation hasn't improved. Looking at the killings in North Central, Plateau, Benue, and Zamfara and Borno and all the rest, there's no major improvement on security situation. I have phobia to not travel on the road because of reports we see here and there. But there are signs and there are lights we can see at the end of the tunnel. Infrastructure. I will come to the issue of infrastructure on roads. Under the previous administration, it was a disaster for southern Nigeria. But under this administration, we are seeing light and seeing practicality of rules being fixed, especially even in our own state. I won't bend mouth to say it. If the man has done well in area, I'll tell you. On roads, there's a major, major improvement. You can see them, even if the pace of work is slow. But you can see there are signs. On the Benin-Sapele Road, graciously I've driven around Benin this morning. I left GRA and drove through the Benin-Sapele Road, through the bypass to Ikuba Hill. Even if the work is slow, you can see that they were working and people are doing something. On the Benin bypass between Agbo Road and Aduawa, you see work ongoing there. The major road we had crisis in Edo State was the Benin Auchi Road. It is possible today to drive between Aduawa and Ekpoma for 40-45 minutes as of today. Those crises in Ekpoma area has been fixed and is being fixed. We'll give it to him on that. And I'm sure that has to do with his partnership with the current state government, since they are both APC. But generally, I also heard bishops talk about, not to come to the politics, talk about one party state and all the rest. I do not think it is proper for us to have one party state. I am not also a fan of multi-party. I prefer something like 2-3 maximum political parties.
Okay.
So that the choices can be limited and that we can have the finest of those. Okay. But if everybody is now in one party, it will be like it was for PDP in those early days. That once you get a PDP ticket, it's as if it's as good as entering the office. We cannot afford that. We must have credible alternative and credible opposition. So the political structure must be restructured. And graciously, the tenure of the INEC chairman will be expiring in November. So we're also looking forward to having a more credible person as our next chairman who can provide leadership for the independent National Electoral Commission. Lastly, the issue of petroleum. I mentioned that earlier, petrol subsidy removed. But I must also mention and give credit to those who are managing the petroleum industry that in the last 6-8 weeks, the price of petrol has stabilized between 900 naira and 950 naira. That's also better because you can now predict, unlike in those days or a couple of months back, you could buy today 1,000, then the next time you go there, it's 1,200. From petrol station, we bought fuel for 1,300.
Yeah.
But for about 3-4 months, it has come to 9 something. And the last 6 weeks, it's now 920 to 950, which will enable you to plan.
Okay.
But most importantly, the president should know that the pains are becoming unbearable for many Nigerians.
Fantastic. Thank you, Reverend Phil Aroche. Let me come to you, Bishop Oche. I've heard those in government say the removal of fuel subsidy has now freed up more money for the government and even subnational government, that is at the state level. Do you think that we should also focus as much attention on the state as we are focusing on the federal government against the background of what is now coming to the states and even local governments? I've seen in Edo State where local governments are tarring roads. They are fixing field portions of roads. I've seen in Edo State where local governments are deseating gutters, doing some of the things that they used to be known for in the past, which, after a while, just went down the drain. Let me get to take along this line.
You see, we should take holistic investigation, survey work on governance to know that there is a division. There is federal, there is state, there is local government, and these 3 tiers has their own functions. Now that the president has said subsidy removed, it will give Nigerians more opportunities, more money, and it will reduce suffering. And he has told us that money is now allocated to states and local government. And what is given to states and local government, including the federal, is now a huge amount that can take care of so many things in their various states and local government. But the question we should be asking our governors, our chairmen of local government, including our councillors, is where is this money? Not only looking at Mr. President of federal government, he has told us what he has done. We have not taken time to investigate whether what he told us is correct or not. One part. Second part, we have rights to write to any agency. I'm speaking now as a human rights activist.
Okay.
To write to any agency to say, we understand you are awarded so and so contract. Furnish us
With the details.
with the details.
Okay.
Have Nigerians done that? And under these details, we have the law governing it. Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
Have you employed that law that nobody is responding to you? If you have not employed it, why are you going on blame game?
Okay, let me pause you there, Bishop Osadolo Che. Let me come to Bishop Igbasam. There is a feeling that under this government, the freedom of speech is being trampled upon. And we know that freedom of speech is a fundamental human right. That's on the one hand. And I also need you to comment on the issue of more monies being made available. And Reverend Phil Aroje talked about the fact that there is hunger in the land and is biting harder. What do you think is really the problem? More money, but Nigerians are suffering.
Now, Mr. President, I will continue to say it, has done well. I tell you.
Even with the hunger in the land.
See, you can never remove hunger from the land.
And more people are in poverty.
You can never remove poverty from the land.
Okay.
You have to register this one. We were all here. We were all here when other governments were on board. We were all here when it took Buhari how many years to harmonize and said local government separation of power, and even went on executive order. You have seen a president that didn't use executive order, and within how many hours with Supreme Court Minister of Justice is able to separate local government from state. We are in before, we knew what it is. Even when the man used executive order, I remember former governor Fayemi, another governor, went to him and said, okay, pause with your executive order. We want to put our eye. And that thing does not fly till today until Mr. President came and went through the Supreme Court, followed due process. And there was no, and even when the governor want to make noise, they went to meet him in Lagos. Say, I'm not against you. I just want you to know that I'm the general officer of local government. I did this during the time of Obasanjo, that I want governance to go to the grassroots. So we must give it to him. You see, even God that created us now, some people are asking God, you give me children, you didn't give me money to take care of them. God, as almighty as he is, people are still complaining all over. Even the one that didn't have children say, why did my IVF fail? This one, that one. So, Mr. President, you can't remove hunger from the land. Let me say this, that there are policies that it takes some time before you begin to see the major effect reaching the, I'm talking of the bottom now. Now, if we're going to say, the man, during that time, he brought in palliative. Now, we saw even our palliative here in Ikobahi. We saw where ministers of God were brought in and said they're going to share rice. Till today, it does not fly. Do you blame Tinubu, who brought trailers of rice? And a governor that was sitting in Edo State that had a committee and shared the money within the people and brought church leaders together. And even I was on this station, I said, I have not received a grain of rice. Let no church member look at me. Now, Tinubu did that one to bring, that is what we call short-time measure. Let the people be eating. Gas station is there. Today, somebody carried me one day, was telling me the difference between gas and petrol. Now CNG has some vehicle around. These are measures. What do we want the man? Do we want him to come and die for all like Jesus Christ? The man have done okay as we are talking. There is no state that does not have times 3 of their former allocation. How many of the governors have come out until the man started rolling how much is given to each of them. Now we have separation of power. Local government doing well. Even in my local government now, I went recently and I could see some level of progress in local government. So we must give it to him. Hunger will always be in the land. But I want to tell you, one of the hunger that is ravaging is the hunger of subsidy from those who feed fat on our nation on subsidy. That subsidy is their birthright. We were on channel television. Issa Yugu, the former governor, sat down and he told us live that he has a friend who told him in the day of Jonathan, say, let them stop. We are tired of making money, free money, sitting down, not supplying fuel to Nigeria, giving it to Cameroon, Mali, and the rest, are collecting money from the nation. If this is, we are going to talk about refinery. Our refinery that some of the people say will not work in 30 years' time has started working. Now, I'm talking about within 2 years. Now, the refinery now, do you know the cost of moving fuel across the border, bringing it back, refining and dropping all the other grease and diesel, black oil, and dropping there and bring fuel. At the same time, the same fuel go to other nations and our country is paying for it. When we look at this logistic that is added to it, they pay. I can tell you, sir, Ogadu, in few months, the fuel will still go down. Because what is happening is that the thing is taking shape. It's taking shape. We are here when Tinubu, what is it called? President Buhari used Sukuk bond, but the Sukuk bond is clear. IMF loan is clear. All the people that are talking and they are not talking and say, we are even in the days of Obasanjo went to beg, but this man did not beg. The money mopped out from this was poured into state, raised to local government. Local government have their autonomy that they are able to access their fund. What a man who sat for 8 years was not able to do. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is that there will be hunger. That the issue of insecurity. I'm a security expert. And I can tell you for free, anybody that is saying security has escalated during Buhari does not have the true picture of events.
During Tinubu.
During Tinubu, yeah. I mean, he's not having the true picture.
Have you been following what Professor Zulma has been saying in Borno State?
Sir.
Some states that were taken over from Boko Haram, so local government, are being retaken by Boko Haram. He's come out, on national television to say that.
I can mention a particular raw material in Borno that all of the governor should come out and speak the truth. Some of us will not come out.
Are you saying he's lying?
What I'm saying is that the governor himself knew what is responsible for the insecurity of his place. He knew. He knew. He cannot come out now. You cannot see somebody that's supposed to use cane to flog somebody cannot come out and be crying because he's aware. I can mention 2 or 3 raw material that is being transacted in that place in broad daylight. Okay. And even people that come and say they are helping us, that is what they came for. He cannot be telling us that he's idle. He has all the fund at his disposal. And what I'm saying is that we think we cannot. We were out here. We knew what happened every day in Kaduna.
Okay.
Some of us know the reason why the Kaduna man is running up and down. The kidnapping, railway, and all the rest of them. See, this problem cannot be solved in one day.
All right,
but when we put the security side by side, you will see that we have made some major progress. Even our Tucano, as I talk to you now, we cannot use our Tucano because the regulation of the maker of the Tucano. Don't forget the Nehi law that Obama used against Jonathan for us not to be able to get our ammunition. Say the Nehi law was used against us. Now we're able to get Tucano, but it's being regulated. So we have made significant to a man who is not a general. All right, we have a general as our president.
I want to pause you here now. Okay. I'll come back to you.
I receive pause.
Reverend Philly. I'll pause you here.
I receive the pause.
Now, what do you make of the feeling that 2027 agitation is taking a toll on President Tinubu's efforts?
Thank you very much. The typical politician, like they said, think about the next election, while statement think about the next generation. Before I zero in more on that, let me come to the question you asked both of them. More money made available to state and local government. The question is, why has it not translated to more development and betterment of life for Nigerians? What 5,000 naira could buy 3 years ago, 50,000 can hardly buy it now. That's a fact. Let's take appliances. This air conditioner you have here, standing here, was sold for about 200,000 3 years ago. This air conditioner is now 1.2, 1.3, 1.6 million, depending on where you are buying from. So whereas you have more money, the purchasing power has reduced.
That's inflation.
It has reduced. If I had 20,000 naira before now, I could buy about 80, 90 liters of fuel for my Hilos, and then for a full tank. But 20,000 is only 20 liters. So for me to fill that Hilos, I need about 80, 90,000 naira. And that's how government expenditure has increased. So when you have more money is there, but the purchasing power, the value of the money is greatly reduced. A dollar was around 300, 400, 500. It's 1,600 today. So that's how international business is denominated in dollars. So you have more money, the purchasing power is reduced. The president wants a second term, and of course, it is his right, and there's no reason why he should not get it. It is the turn of the Southern Nigeria to produce the president. He has done first term. He should get a second term. And every reasonable Southerner should support him to get it because it is his right. I'm not of the school of thought that people criticize people unnecessarily, like it was at the papacy at the Vatican City. And people were asking, what was his son Shay doing there? And the question I asked, if it was your father that was there, who should go with him? Should he carry his enemy to go with him? Because people have to carry those who they trust. And this is your son. If you have opportunity to take one person, take your son along.
Okay.
There's absolutely nothing wrong about that. He deserves a second term. He's a typical politician. He has never left his political party since 1999. He's been consistent. Himself and our former governor, Comrade Adams Oshomole, has been consistent on one political party. He's playing the game. There's no doubt. So it is within his right to win everybody to his side to prepare for election.
Okay.
In Edo State, we do election like every year. We had election last year now. We're already preparing for the general election coming. So it is within his right. And if he gets it, so be it. But what I'm saying is that the indices for life, for living in our country is becoming more and more difficult. We cannot die of hunger, sir.
All right. Let's go for a short break.
Just a minute. My greatest expense and his greatest expense is on petrol and food. True of us.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go for a short break. It's still Politics Today on independent television and radio. When we return, we just take a short soundbite from Mr. President in one of the engagements that he had. And then our studio line will be open so you can call and be part of the conversation. The National Assembly is proposing punishments for those who refuse to vote on election day. That's being criticized heavily. And some say, if you want Nigerians to vote, let's make the process as transparent as possible. Will that ever happen? Join us again. Okay, let's just take a listen to Mr. President's remarks in one of the engagements at the Aso Rock Villa, and we'll be back. Our studio line will be open so you can call and be part of the conversation. Stay with us.
Described the endorsement as a profound honor and a testament to the confidence placed in.
To me, I owe you a whole world of gratitude. The endorsement today, the carry-go inspiration, I know road.
As President Tinubu prepares for a robust campaign in the upcoming.
Okay, so the carry-go inspiration is a major talking point there. But let's quickly get your perspectives. Nigerians to be punished if they don't cast their votes in 1 minute.
You see, it is a good law that is proposed because Nigerians go and register. But the day of election, they wait for somebody to give them money. Now, who give me money? Now I go vote for. Now that that is the thing, the politicians and government is aware that people vote because of money. If it's not made compulsory and mandatory that if you do not vote, since you have registered, there'll be punishment. It's a
You think
welcome
that will
development.
work?
Don't worry.
No, just we have 1 minute. Do you think that will work?
It will work.
Okay, let's pursue there. Bishop Igbasan. Yes, compulsory punishment for those who don't vote.
I think the law is good, but orientation is more important. We must orientate our people because, like I tell you, some youth say education is a scam and it's taking root. National Orientation Agency is supposed to go from place to begin to take that one off the mind of our people. So until the people know that it is their, as citizen, it is their right to vote. In other climes, you see people raise up their voters card and with pride. So, and I think for that one to work in Nigeria, that imprisonment or fine might not fly until we begin to do it in such a way that you include it in some prerequisite. Some of the things that people want to do, like, oh, you want to have a bank account, you want to do so thing, you must show that you voted. So that one, you remember when we were doing NIN, people fold their hand. But when it is 11th hour, people now hire canopy and bring generator and sit down inside that place. So if there's a way to put it in some of the prerequisites for some of the things we do, that it will be one of the prerequisites, you have to show your distance.
All right, let's open our studio line 08077770300. That's our studio number. Dial it right now. Let's get your take on our conversation so far. Good morning, caller. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Yes, go ahead.
Thank God for Nigeria, no matter what happens, we will move on. Our president saying us that we don't want Nigeria to be one party system. But they are telling us that more voters are coming back. His vote is saying more voters are coming back to APC and coming to APC. And the thing now is that people don't vote. 6 months in prison or 100,000. They should ready to jail on Nigeria 2027. They should expand their prison. The company Nigeria will enter there. Because they're not encouraging us that they're talking here and we come to vote. I'll come.
Okay, Ultimate Degree, thank you for your contributions. 08077770300. That's the studio number. Dial it and let's get your take on all that we've talked about so far. Assessing Mr. President's first 2 years in office. Has it made impact? Has your life improved? Things getting better? Or we need to be more? That's our question this morning on the program. Good morning, caller. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Yes, good morning. What's your name and where you calling from?
I'm Christopher, calling from Benin.
Go ahead, Christopher. Go ahead, Christopher. We can listen. We can hear you rather.
What I don't want to say here is that this idea of punishing Nigerians for on due course. I can hear you now.
Okay, we have a bit of a challenge with your call. I'm sure that's a network issue. You can get back to us if you can, as much as possible, as soon as possible. We'll put you on the call. Good morning, caller. You're next on the line. Go ahead with your contribution. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Our studio number 08077770300. That's the studio number. Good morning, caller. What's your name?
Good morning.
Yes, please turn down the audio level of your TV or radio to remove the echo. Go ahead with your contribution. Tell us your name. Go ahead.
So the issue of imprisoning the electorate if they refuse to vote. So there need to be a transparency in regards to that, because during election there are lots of things that normally goes on during election. So the presidency and every other stakeholders need to work tenaciously to ensure that there is a transparency during vote.
Okay.
We don't encourage election buying, but it is the government that will encourage that.
Okay.
They need to work on that area to ensure that also watching them.
All right, thank you very much. Studio line is still open. Line is still open. Tell us your name and where you're calling. President Tinubu's first 2 years in office. What's your take? Good morning, caller. Tell us your name. 08077770300. That's the number. Good morning, caller. You're live on Politics Today. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello,
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you loud and clear.
my name is Ibiamo. I'm calling from Sample Road.
Go ahead, Mbiam.
The issue about fuel subsidy removal is where the money was channeled to. If that removal was channeled to to refinery, channeled to provision of good roads, channeled to lights, channeled to security, instead of sharing it to the governors and local government, they should have handled it himself as a federal government. It would have fixed the economy. If we get well, we get road, we get light, and we get security, Nigeria will fly to any height. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, you know, the issue of sharing is a constitutional matter. If they keep all the resources to themselves, rest assured that the state governors will come together and perhaps take the federal government to court. And you know what that means. I mean, there's a case now that the Supreme Court just dismissed by state governors against the federal government. Okay, Akola, we have you on the line. Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. You're live on Politics Today. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, what's your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Michael. I'm calling from Radio State.
Go ahead, please.
Sir, that issue of voting, you mentioned that anyone that have registered that refused to vote, they would have a punishment. I want to ask, even if you voted, will it stop the killing in this country or the hardship that is going on in this country? That is my question, sir.
All right, thank you. Maybe one of our panelists will respond to you. Well, let's take our last call before we call it a wrap and get a final word from Reverend Phila Oche. Yeah. Good morning, caller. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Mafido Roland.
Okay, Roland, where are you calling us from?
Yeah, I want to make my contribution.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you see this subsidy of whatever they are talking about. People say it's a scam, but the fact is that this money, we do not know where this money is going. The government have completely failed us. They have failed us. Bank of Rice is still on the outside. I remember when I used to buy fuel, a full tank for an e-loss is 10,000 naira. I will do this for the whole 1 week. But now, you can only take almost 40,000 naira. And we are saying Jagaban. Who is Jagaban? Let's call a spade a spade. Nothing is working in this country. We shouldn't be deceiving ourselves. We just come out on TV and talk. Nothing is happening. I don't like talking, though. I like seeing effect. I don't like talking.
All right, thank you. You don't like talking, but you've been talking here on the program, so we'll keep talking. Anyway, Phil, let me get your final take on. Yes, quickly.
I have personally voted and made sure my family members voted since 1999. There must be a way of enforcing compliance to voting. Because Nigerians don't vote, they want to be bribed to vote and say vote doesn't count the rest. No, we must vote. It's a civic responsibility. Yeah. We must make it compulsory for every eligible Nigerian who is 18 years, have your voter's card and then vote. And then the second thing I'd like to mention is this issue of subsidy. Let the federal government make sure that their refineries are working. The only refinery working in this country, to my own knowledge, optimally, is Dangote Refinery. And let me give you this fact, you can verify it. It is easier, it is cheaper to take LPG from Dangote Refinery than to import. So if you go to Dangote Refinery as at today, they are trucking out a lot of LPGs. Okay. That's the cooking gas. Yeah. Trucking it out to various destinations, because even those who had their farm tanks around, who were importing LPG and selling, have now discovered that for each 25-30 tons, they are making almost 3 million naira extra.
Okay. From Dangote.
From Dangote than importing. Okay. So if we have our refineries working, it will be far more cheaper for us.
All right, gentlemen, my time is up on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. I want to say big thanks to all our listeners and viewers from across the world. Next week, Saturday, is another date. Be sure to join us on the program. Reverend Phil, thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Bishop Osadoloche, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
And Bishop
having me.
Austin
Thank
Iwasan,
all
you
that
for
have
coming.
supported me during my sabbatical.
All right, and then to Mr. President, the onus is on you to put Nigeria on the trajectory of peace, progress, and development. Insecurity in the Northeast and in the Northwest, even across the country, is still a major talking point. But one thing is certain, we're talking about 2027, showed to us that you've been able to use the first term well to impact on Nigerians positively. And then, of course, you certainly will get overwhelming support as to whether Mr. President should think of 2027 or not. Some of these northern elites that are creating problems right, left, right, back, center, like, Erfa and Co., should just go somewhere and hide and give Mr. President support in his aspirations for 2027. It's the turn of the South, and that must be stated categorically and emphatically well. That's my take out on the show today. Be sure to join us next Saturday. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.